gaming development, basically animations and virtual, augmented and mixed reality solutions. Trust me, those are deep techs. That's how we call it, right? It's not just some common solutions that we have around. Also, after gaining experience with local startups, he remotely joined the international team of a company called DiRoots in the UK. He worked on research and development, 3D point cloud modeling, and converting laser scans to building models for Autodesk Revit. That is a huge technology, if you would ask me again, because I know the power of Autodesk Revit, really. So most recently, he was at OurPass as a head of products, so to say. OurPass is actually a fast-growing fintech, I would call it, startup, where he championed product research and development. He created a business around a need he co-discovered in real estate that created Land Republic. So Land Republic is actually Ayodeji's brainchild, and he managed operations, finance, and technology advancements at Land Republic. So he wears all the hats, you know the meaning. And he also leads products at Steward currently, and is a co-founder at Steward, a venture-backed company where he co-founded, providing financial services to private schools across Africa. Basically, a fintech for private schools. He holds a patent for developing a Jesus. At the end of the day, Ayodeji has finished me. He holds a patent for developing a heliotropically rotating building. Oh my jeez. Generating passive and active energy through its rotation. Trust me, Ayodeji's profile is hot. I'm hot right now. And I would just say that, guys, if there's anybody that can do justice to this topic,
see, just forget. See, Ayodeji, after today's session, just come and be laying hands, laying hands, impartation. Please wait behind though, if you want to be imparted by Ayodeji. It's not easy. Do you know what it is to and you have a patent? It's not easy, Ayodeji, see. After today's session, maybe we'll close on time, or maybe we'll do another session from 8 o'clock, impartation service. I will announce it on Slack. Impartation service is happening after the session. So let me go announce.
All right. So basically, that is Ayodeji's portfolio. And guys, welcome Ayodeji to the webinar. As I will be yielding the mic to Ayodeji right now, and I will go and do justice to my temperature. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.
Oh, good. Thank you, Cindy. Please, all these ones are just paper, this thing, I beg. I just want to dive directly into what we have this evening, how to work with developers, a guide for product managers. And as much as there's a presentation, it's just always necessary that we do a presentation. But to be very honest, I am a very practical person. Like, let's just leave all the presentations aside. I'm a very, very practical person. So I'm just going to pick pointers in the presentation and just talk elaborately in a realistic manner. Like, let's talk about what is actually happening, not, the books, not necessarily the books. Like, what do people experience? How do you work with developers? So I'll just go to the first part of the slide. So we say there's no I's in product management. Understanding how to work with developers is probably one of the most difficult things and most important things simultaneously. So basically what I'm trying to say here is, to be very honest with you, for your success as a product manager, right, it is actually necessary that you understand how to work with developers. And there's no I. It should not be a thing of I. I remember one time I was interviewing a couple of product managers, and most of them were saying, I did this, I did that, I did that. It's not product management as a job, it's not really, or a career, is not really an I job, it is a we job. So it means that everybody's inclusive. Whatever you're doing is collaborative, it's a team effort. And there's one thing about product managers. I usually tell someone, I say product managers are the jack of all trades, master of none. As a product manager, You have an idea of this, you have an idea of that, you have an idea of sales, you can communicate with people in sales, you can communicate with people in CS, you can communicate like, with different people, but you're not really a master of anyone. So you're jack of all trades, master of none. So basically means that you need other people's efforts to actually like perform well in your role as a product manager. So so understanding, the first one we'll just talk about is understanding developer collaboration as a product manager. And the first item says spend time with your teammates. So I usually advise a lot of people try to spend time with their teammates because these are one of the issues why a lot of teams don't have clarity on what to do. I know there are several rules. Like I said, I'm going to be very practical here, right? I'm going to be very, very practical of our reality, not necessarily by the books, right? You might, like I said, this is from my own perspective. You might, see that something that I say would probably be different from the books, but I'm talking about, our reality. I don't know if we can just drop a sign on the chat. If you know that you currently work in a startup, I feel like 90% of us work in startups, not large organizations. Please just drop like a thumbs up or something. Just drop an emoji if you know you work in a startup. If you know, yeah. Okay. So the way it is, startup present. The way it is, to be very honest, I feel like most of us, like a very large percentage of us, actually work in startups. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up. Okay. Yeah, so a lot of us actually work in startups, to be very honest. And our reality is very, very different from, I've worked in startups like my entire life, to be very honest with you. I think the only opportunity I got to sort of try to work in a very, very large organization, I rejected that. But most of my own current reality is working in startups, work in a startup in UK, like some other, freelance where I did in Europe, and then, startups in Nigeria too, and then East Africa and all stuff like that. So it has always been startups for me. So I'm going to come from a very, very realistic point of view because, to be very honest, if I want to count large organizations, I think the people I can still count out of the box are people that work in like InterSwitch or people that work in Flutter. Flutter is still a startup, to be very honest. It's just that it is a larger organization and roles in places like InterSwitch, Flutter, Paystack, even like they are divided properly. Every other person, to be very honest, most people, you take even more responsibility as a product manager. You're probably working as a Scrum Master too. You're doing so many things. You're working as a keyword person. You're testing your product and all stuff like that. So I usually advise that a lot of people try to spend time with their teammates. All right, if you're creating stories, create them with your teammates. If you're whatever you're doing, your sprint planning, your backlog, like try to involve them from day one. One of the things I've discovered about spending time with your teammates is that you're able to have conversations with them, and then you do not sort of like take a decision-making strategy. So you can see the second part I said, involve your team from day one and let them have the same decision-making. So one of the things that I feel like a lot of product managers do is that we do the research on our own. We do everything on our own. These are the tasks we're supposed to do. This is what we're supposed to do. And then we bring it to the developers and expect them to execute. What we're just basically doing for them is we're doing the garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. And to be very honest, when you take that approach to working with developers, they just give you what you want. But if you make them interested in the product and then you carry them along, top to bottom from day one. I remember when I was at OurPass, the way I work is, and from day one, even before we start developing the product, if there's an idea or something that we need to work around, I call the engineering manager, I call people in sales, marketing, try to discuss with everybody, especially from the departmental angle first. And I just want them to be involved. I want them to feel like they're involved. And then I move it down to, design, development. I bring those things on board. I want to hear their views on it. And I could remember the time the CEO came and the CEO said, we need to develop a business mobile application. But we also had like a customer end. So it was like the CEO wanted us to have the business and the customer application on one app, meaning you can just switch. And then, what I did was, instead of saying, yes, I did that, I said, I'll come back to you with the feedback. And then I went to my team. So rather than making that decision of saying, yes, we should read it or we should read the app separately, maybe we should have a business app and a customer app, I went to my team. I knew what I wanted. To be very honest, what I wanted, which is something that is now useful for the company, was I wanted us to build the application separately. That means the customer app and the business app, I wanted us to build it separately. What did I do? This was what I wanted, but I did not want to push it down anybody's throats. So I decided to involve my people in decision making. I called everybody on the team. I sent them what we wanted to do. And I told them, oh, let's get on a call. It was not even like a sprint, call or anything. I just said, oh, let's get on a call. I just want to get people's views. Why do you think we should do this, or why do you think we should not do this? And everybody started pushing in their ideas. The mobile developer said this, the backend developer saying this, the front-end developer saying this. At the end of the day, they came to the conclusion that they wanted to build the application separately. Now, what did I do? I basically just brought them on board and made them feel like they were decision makers too, which is very key. So when someone is working on a solution that feels that it was part of it, right, that person is going to respond better and is going to work better with you rather than just saying, go and develop this thing, or you have to develop this thing. So when we started creating stories when we started creating tickets and all sorts like that, I did not create tickets alone. That's one thing I don't create tickets alone. Also, please, like I said, there's a difference between startups and larger organizations. In larger organizations, product managers don't create tickets, right? It is the Scrum Master and all sorts, that create tickets. But with your current reality is you have to create tickets as a product manager too. I bring them on board, right? And then I say, oh, these are the general things. These are the stories. This is the epic. I believe everybody on this call is familiar with those terms. This is the epic. This is the stories. Now let's break them. So we break them down together, and then we assign them. Oh, can you take on this? Oh no, let's pass it to this person. This person says, oh, I can take on it. So we do a sprint planning where every single person is involved, and they feel like they even picked what they wanted to do, right? And then there's a last statement. I said, manage the product, not the team. Don't have to be role of the Scrum Master. Now, one thing I usually tell a lot of people is that as a startup, most of us, our current reality in the startup, we're doing data analytics. In short, I think when I started with OurPass, I was the only product manager before the product team grew and we started, getting more product managers. I was the only product manager. I even went as far as developing all the data analytics, like the dashboards, internal dashboard for events and everything. I was writing SQL and all sorts like that. So that's like the current reality of some people, right? But I think everybody should understand the basis of product management, and you should not try to mix the Scrum rules. So your Scrum rules requires you, those backlog management and all those things where you have to dip your head into. You should focus on trying to bring the product out and not trying to manage the team as much as possible, because it just sort of gives you too much responsibility to handle, right? And also like that. So please try to manage the product and not the team. Don't assume the Scrum Master will, even though most of us do that. Do not put too much energy on that and focus on other things that are going to make the product come out well. This is not advice. Everybody has different views on it also. I think one thing I also do is I spend time talking outside work with my product managers just to make them feel like I'm part of their lives, right? And everybody always talks to me, and also they are very, very free. They know when things are, they don't want to do things, or when things are wrong. I could remember a time where I think we had 4 people on the back end, and then one person was actually weak. And then instead of forcing this person to work on creating tickets for this person without going to HR, I don't think I've ever really, maybe once or twice. So I don't think I've ever really gone to HR for developers. And like I said, it depends on you have to build a relationship with them. If not, you just be reporting developers every time. I could remember that time. I went to this developer was very weak, and they were 4 on the team. And then we all backend engineers, let's just talk with your engineering manager. And then we discovered these other 3 people can actually carry on the task. And literally, we gave that person a 1-week break without informing anyone, because we understood that the 3 other people could carry that task, and this person was experiencing a burnout. That kind of thing, if I come tomorrow and say, this developer should help us push something out, he's definitely going to push it, because he feels like he's part of the team. He feels like he's very relevant in the team, and then his concerns and everything is valued. Yeah. So the next one is effective communication strategies. One thing I always tell people, like I said, don't treat developers like you're giving them garbage in, garbage out, which is what most of us do. We bring the idea. Once we bring the idea, we tell the designer to design. Then we call the development team, and then the next thing you're doing is you're telling them this is what you do, this is what you do. No, you need to communicate the product vision. Like I said, I love giving real world examples so that we can relate very well. It's not really just about the presentation, it's actually what you're going to hear from me. There was an instance where we're told to build a POS application. I think wanted to build like an application on a POS device. And this was actually supposed to take about, I think, 2 months. But sales, marketing, they already went to sell what the products cannot do. So the merchants that we onboarded, they already sold so many things to them, and it felt like, man, these guys have just promised them so much. And then they came back to us and said, you know what, we need to achieve this thing in 2 weeks. So, and I think we're going to lose billions in transaction if we didn't get these people on board. And so because of how I relate with developers and all stuff like that, I called all of them together. I called like a general meeting. Sometimes apart from all these backlog meetings and everything, I love to speak to my developers. So I just called them, guys, up here, I'm gonna jump on call, let's talk and all stuff like that. Yeah, and then we got on the call, and I had to talk about the vision, the reason why. I'd not even told them about the 2 weeks. And I had to tell them the reason why we needed to push this thing out, the number of transactions, the volume of transactions, the possible revenue that this product is going to generate. I had to basically sell the product, or sell that particular product that I wanted to build for the developers. Everybody was like, wow. I said, and I think then we're onboarding the likes of Domino's Pizza. We wanted to onboard ShopRite, Spa. Like, these are big guys, right? If you are in all these places, like, your transaction volume is actually going to be very high, your revenue is going to be very, very high, and all stuff like that. And I had to sell it to them. I said, imagine telling people that, you get this product, this, that. I sold it to them first. I made them, enjoy that vision of this is what will come out of building this. Then I broke the news to them. I said, unfortunately, they told us that we can do this in 2 weeks. Everybody said, oh, no, we can't. We'll do it in 2 months. And then I just had to plead with them. I said, see, I know I'm not supposed to be doing this, that. And to be very honest, it was very easy convincing them because I sold them the vision and they also wanted to be part of that vision. So selling them the vision is very important. Then use data and metrics to communicate progress. One thing I try to do is that before I speak or before I talk about anything, I always like to use data. I'm very, very big on data. Before you make any assumptions or any conclusions, even if, to be very honest, I used to tell people a lot of things. I say, most times the product manager is always right, to be very honest. Sometimes it might sound unrealistic, but I always think that we think further than the development team. And then you're always right most of the time, but maybe not in a realistic way, to be very honest. And so the best way to actually make people feel like you're not saying something stupid is to actually use data to back what you're saying. For example, okay, POS transactions are failing. Well, like, show them the numbers, show them these things. We need to build this. We need to do this. Do we need to take this off? Or we need to deprioritize this product? Show them the numbers. Create metrics. If you have a data analyst or a data science person on board, try to build dashboards. Talk to the person. If it is on work progress, how people are performing, enforce the use of your tools, Jira, Trello, whichever one you're using, Asana, ClickUp, and get data from there to be able to communicate that this is the progress of you as a person. This is what you're doing. And I know I've been working this, but you're not pushing what you're working. And the data says that you're not working. I don't know if you get me. So you need to be able to use data and metrics to actually communicate progress. Reduce requirement changes and misunderstanding. This is one thing I usually tell people a lot. I know there's always strict time with startups now. They tell you create PRD. Create PRD in 3 days. Create PRD in 4 days. But I also try to usually tell people to think in a very, very detailed manner. And like I said, the way I create PRDs, I don't create PRDs for developers to use. Myself and the developers, myself and the designers will create the PRD together. That's how I work. And then when we are done with that, we have like a general company, but we share to the entire company because everybody has to be part of it. It's not just because you have to onboard marketing, you have to onboard customer success, you have to onboard so many people knowing how to use the product and everything. I think there was something I even implemented back then, was that every Friday, I call it the demo day, And then there's always like an automatic push. There's like a blog where once I push an update to the blog, it comes into Slack, announcing to people in the team, in the company, and saying, oh, this is the product requirement documents, or this is what we're working on. I record Loom videos a lot. I record videos a lot to show them this is how it works, this is what is working, this is not working, these are the bugs we are fixing. I do that often. So, and I try as much as possible to be very, very detailed to reduce changes and misunderstanding. I'm still going to connect it to break features down into reusable chunks, right? You have to be able to break things down. Do not rush most of these things. Try to bring the different aspects of it. Okay, you're working on this particular feature. This is connecting this. This is connecting that. You need to be able to break those things down. And I said I recommend the use of Looms a lot. You can use any recording application. I love Loom. Let me tell you the reason why I love Loom. First of all, I always make sure that every team I get into, every developer signs up for Loom. Developers, designers, everyone. I make sure they sign up on Loom. And then I know that Loom, there's pricing there, so I always like to use the free plan, right? And it means that over time, you still have to keep deleting. I think Loom allows a maximum of 25 videos or something. So it means that I have to delete videos over time. I don't leave videos there. It's just for them to use at the moment. So what I try to do is that I record Looms a lot. If the designer does something, the designer too must record Loom. You must explain in detail before the developer even starts designing interactions and all those things. You record in detail how to do this. What does this mean? Sometimes I might record a PRD, just explaining what I wrote in the PRD because I want clarity. And because Loom can help me track who has watched it and who has not watched it, because I usually enforce that. I'm able to see that, okay, who has watched this Loom. Someone watched the Loom for just 5 seconds and dropped off. Or someone watched, so I could come back to Slack and say, so you people just watched the Loom for 5 seconds. Oh, this and that. Okay, let's have another scoping session. So I try to use Looms a lot and to also try to avoid a lot of meetings. Because if you're trying to break things down, sometimes you end up doing a lot of meetings, which is not actually very, very effective for developers. Developers hate meetings a lot. So sometimes I love to always record Looms to bring clarity to them. And one thing I usually tell people is that there's no such thing as over communication. You can have under communication, like you can communicate lesser, but there's nothing as too much. So you keep communicating, There sometimes I've repeatedly explained a couple of things, just so that, I think one of the things that a lot of people make mistake on is that they don't break down things. And then by the time the developer is done, you spend so much time on QA because what you actually wanted them to do is not what came out. So it's always necessary for developers to have very, 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 very good understanding of what they are trying to achieve, right? It means that it's not just going to be garbage in, garbage out for the developer must literally be able to talk like you who understands the product. Everybody on the team, if the product manager is not there, everybody on the team should be able to explain the products back and forth, like top to bottom. It's not just, okay, this is the chunk you have to do. No. If people are able to understand things that way, they are able to release a couple of things without so much bugs. So now I'm going to stray away from my past experience. Currently, I started a startup and Steward East Africa, and then you'll be amazed that we just have 2 developers on board, one full stack and one front-end engineer. And what we've been able to achieve in 3 months is more than what some teams have achieved in a year. And what do we do? Clarity. Clarity is very important for developers. It is not garbage in, garbage out. If it means that I have to get on a call, right, and tell them, this is how to use this, this is how to use this. If you click this, this goes this way. Because to be very honest with you, most of the times, in a lot of startups, they don't do interactions, they don't complete interactions, they just drop those screens. Designers just drop those screens, and you can't blame them. Sometimes the speed at which you have to deliver product is actually very, very high. And then sometimes you have to change a lot, you have to go back and forth and all stuff like that. So I usually give them clarity. Looms, you call a lot of Loom. Send to them, oh, do you understand this? No. Okay, what don't you understand there? The person tells me, okay, I'll record it again. It's not going to take more than 2-3 minutes to record a Loom video. And then by the time we're done, the 2 developers are literally more knowledge, or should I say, as equally knowledgeable on the product as I am. So when we get to QA, there's really no back and forth. It's just very, very little. Like the back and forth that we usually have on our products are things like maybe, okay, when this person is typing this button should be inactive, so that you reduce the way the users can make errors, and also those are literally the kind of problems that we go through. We don't go through the problems of teams where oh, this is not what I said you should do. Oh, you've made a mistake here. No, we don't go through that. The kind of problems we face are very little, and that's because everybody has complete understanding, clarity. And Mr. Man, work, be very detailed with what you're doing. Do you need more time? Okay, let's negotiate. How much time do you need? Okay, I said you should complete this in 2 days, and the guy said no, it's 4 days. I said okay, no problem. You can use 4 days, but the agreement I'm going to have with you is in these 4 days, you're going to have to promise me that you're going to do very neat work, because I wanted you to do it in 2 days, and then you said no, you couldn't complete it in 2 days. So no worries, I'm not going to push it. But by the end of that fourth day, I want to be able to test this application and know that there are lesser bugs. I want the QA person to be able to test this application and say, okay, this is good job. Maybe the places that we're going to be having issues is stress testing, another type of testing, the capacity that that system can carry, and also like that. Those are maybe the possible places where there are issues. I even go as far as telling, I'm sorry, sometimes it might be stressful to developers, but I always try to emphasize the need for them. Always explaining why is very important for developers. I usually tell my developers to, even because there's so many people that are not technical on the team. And then as a backend developer, especially for product managers who are not technical, or people who are not technical on the team, right? The backend developer says it's done. And sometimes, they are not done. So I usually tell them from time to time, I say, okay, record a loom of what you did. Like, show us on Postman. If you do this data, this is the data that we show. This is the data representing this and that. And I try to work with my team like that. Like I said, some of these things might look stressful, but if you can emphasize the reason why, sell the product vision to them, it's very easy for them to work with you. Yeah. Now, navigating technical challenges. Now, I'm gonna just say a lot of things on this side, because I believe that a lot of people, we have technical product managers, and we just have product generalists, people who are not too technical. And to be very honest, the things that make you a very, very good product manager is not majorly you being technical. It's you being able to communicate. So the first one says learn terminologies if you work. Okay, if you work in a startup, at least learn how to QA. So learn terminologies a lot. To be very honest with you, you need to be able to speak a developer's language. So if it means that you need to read a couple of things like, okay, what does API mean? You've been working with developers. I'm not saying you should go and start building APIs, but you need to actually know what an API is, or you need to know how to say, okay, this is a product documentation and I need to be able to check it out. One thing that was very interesting for me was that when I was working in my development team, even before we start integrations, I told them, like, I'm able to come back to them to give them a feedback based on the API documentation of the partners. I don't just come and just tell them, we're going to integrate, or we need to integrate this. As much as you're probably maybe depending, if you're not from a coding background or something, you need to learn the language of the developers. And another easier way to learn it, I'm sorry, before I move on to that, learn how to QA. It's very important. Even when you're working in larger organizations, you also need to actually test what your person has done. So you need to learn how to QA as a person, because you always want to test your product, right? It is very essential. If that is the only thing that you can learn. Now, there are different levels of learning QA. It can be just surface testing, where you just have to click buttons and check and all stuff like that. It can also be a situation where maybe you're trying to inspect stab, as for people who are trying to be technical and all. I'm still coming to that. Or it can be API testing. And API testing is very simple. You can tell your developers on Postman, please always save examples for everything that you do. And then you're able to just send, click just one button, and all you need is data. Your UI, the difference between your UI and your backend is that your backend is feeding data into your UI. So I do feel like API document, Postman is actually, regardless of the documentation that you need, is Postman or whichever one, Swagger, and also it's actually very easy to understand. Once you understand data, we all understand data, so it is very easy to say, okay, this guy click send, and then you're just seeing an array of amounts, fee. At least that is something that you can assimilate. Ask a lot of questions and let them show you how to do it. So I think one of the things that because I'll just talk a little about my background. I came from a software engineering background, but I was bleeding majorly on things like C# and all sorts like that. But when I came into more of product management, I didn't do things like JavaScript, Node, and all sorts like that. So it took some time for me to sort of like try to understand a little. And then all I had to do was, because I was very close to my developers, they teach me how to be technical, right? They teach me some of these things. I'll tell the developer, this developer tells me, this is how to do this thing. Oh, it is done. I say, I know, I'm not sure what to do. You know, I'm not, okay, show me how I can check. And they show me how to do these things. And then the next time, even without them telling me, I'm able to say, this is it, or this is the problem. Or if they tested, something to this point, and also like that. So another way to become, technical, to be able to, overcome some of those technical challenges is allowing your developers to show you how to do it. Ask. Then ask, as many questions as you can, which is something that a lot of people don't do. You need to be able to say, wisdom, please, I don't know how to do this thing. Please teach me. A lot of people talk about inspecting terms, right? Your developers can teach you how to do it. You don't even need to look for another product manager to teach you how to do it. And sometimes you click on a button, right? There are some basic things that you need to learn, to be very honest, as a product manager, especially when you're in a startup. You click on a button, and the button is not clicking. And then the next thing you do is you run to the channel and say, the button is not clicking. Developers don't like those things. Even if you're able to speak to your developer and say, please, teach me, if a button is not clicking, what should I check? How should I understand this? Your developer can actually show you and say, if you click on this inspect tab, you know that maybe there's a 404 error, 505, all those different things. Like, they can teach you the basics of these things. And all this comes from being able to collaborate with them effectively, right? They will teach you all these things. They will hold you hand in hand. And before you know it, you're actually speaking their language well. Even if it is not, as technical as they are, but you're able to communicate with them and you're able to work well with them. Errors, all those different things like that. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss too much time. So questioning a collaborative culture, practice what you preach. Whatever you're telling your developers, make sure that you implement it. Be very honest and make sure that you're doing it. And don't go it alone. This basically means that don't take a go at things alone, right? It means if you're trying to prepare documentation, if you're trying to change something, always make sure they're involved in like that process. I don't do anything without carrying my developers on board. Even if which is in most cases, I know what I want to do, but I'll talk to them and make them feel like they're part of the process. And then, sometimes I might even chip it in and make it feel like it's their idea, to be very honest. It's like, okay, this is what I want the developer to think. And then I want to make sure that this guy is carried along. But this guy is saying south. And I just suggest, why don't you think this way? And this person is like, this way. I say, you see, what you just brought that idea to my head. So I make them feel like they are part of that process, because the developers are not. And sorry to say, depending on the ecosystem you're working, if you're working remotely for companies in Europe, if you're working, I'm sorry to say, but Nigerian developers, see, there are some realities that you have to accept. Maybe they probably won't tell you, but a lot of Nigerian developers have multiple jobs because they want to earn more, right? So if you're not giving them that flexibility to feel like, okay, let me get this thing, like you're part of this thing. To be very honest, it's just going to be a garbage in and garbage out thing. And they just want to do your work and jump on the other work and go. And anything they do for you, you'll be the one. And the interesting thing is that CEOs, managers, product leads, every other person, they don't really care about the developer being the one that is messing up. All they care is, Tosin, what's going on? Rahim, what's going on? Right? They always come back to you. So you need to learn how to carry people along. Make sure feedback is delivered fast. Encourage documentation of activities. One thing I usually do is every time I write a PRD, I force my developers to write a POC also. I always force them to write their own documentation too. And also it helps you with continuity, meaning if this developer did it tomorrow, the new developer is not just going to come and start thinking like, what's going on here? So front-end developers write documentation in every single place I work. Front-end developers don't just write documentation. I also ensure that the back-end developers write documentation too. So there's documentation from, in short, that is the first thing that if you see our tickets, the first thing for everybody is you see front-end writing their documentations, back-end writing their documentations, QA has to write all these things before we even start development of the product. I arrange a lot of brainstorming sessions. Sometimes I call my developers on board. It is not compulsory. There's something Toby or Kitty said one time. She was like, "Oh, she buys pizza for developers." I do a lot for my developers too. Like I said, it depends. It is not compulsory, depending on the company. Some developers might be earning more than product managers. Some product managers might be earning more than developers. You probably don't want to share your money with them. It's fine. But me, sometimes to encourage them, right? I always like to, appreciate them. I'll say, okay, we can achieve this or we can do this. I'm going to get something for you. Or we're going to organize an hangout. Or we're going to do this. Or we're going to do that just to make everyone feel, good. I remember one time there's something I used to do then. At the end of the week, I send airtime to all my developers. Or I do something like I type on the channel and like, oh, let's get people to drop this, or drop 10K or 20K in your account, blah, 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 blah. Right? And all sorts like that. And they usually love things like that. I'm not, like I said, it is not a compulsory. It's not a compulsory thing to do. So I hope I've done a little bit of justice. Still on this session. If you have any questions, you can raise up your hand.
Wait. Sorry. Before another thing they will take over, please. Ayodeji just said a little bit of little care. Why are you forming humble for us? I don't know. Please. Yeah.
Hello. Bridget.
And we're very proud.
No care. If you need care and love, go and meet your husband. Please. Don't
What's your problem, Simi? What's your problem? See,
Ayodeji
people keep I
involved.
want to see the clapping, the dropping it. See, remember, we're doing
Ayodeji
partition service after
involved
this, so we're doing partition
and
service.
I'm very much involved. Please don't do too much.
We are doing partition.
Don't let me distract you.
So let's go for questions.
Yes. Let me go and raise up my hands. Let me need to raise up my hand.
Okay, okay, let's start from there.
Thank you so much, Ayodeji. It was really insightful because this was a major note I really want to crack because I want to be that PM that gets my developers deliver on time. That's really very important. My question is, in a case where you are in an organization, you are new to that organization, you have PMs that are probably doing it by the books already, and you now want to begin to implement all this. How can you go about it? Like you are not the one that is the major lead, but you need to be able to communicate the vision and all, and you have other PMs that want to do it the other way. How can you balance it? Thank you.
Okay, so first question, do you have a separate development team or is interwoven, like you work with everyone?
So at the moment I am still like entry-level jobs and all of that, but at least I've had interactions with on certain projects before, and the development team was quite different from the product managers. So it was just more like communicate what you want them to do and then they get it done and all of that.
No. So regardless of that, even if you have multiple product managers, right? Definitely there are still some developers that will probably need to be assigned to you, or you're supposed to talk to these developers to carry out your tasks. And even if there are some, not too flexible things that are coming down from the top, it's always necessary to have conversations with your developers, right? I could come to my developers, for example. I remember one time, how many weeks was given for a product? I think it was 4 weeks or 5 weeks, I can't remember. But there's a way I brought it down to my developers that, see, I can't change this thing, This thing is not too flexible. Yes, the size of the share. This thing is not too flexible. What do you think? How can we work our way around it? Do we need to strip off some things? I don't want to stress you guys. I want to work with you guys. Do we need to strip off some things? It's an MVP. It is not compulsory that this one is working. It's compulsory that this one is working. What is a nice to have? What is a must have? So no matter how strict it is, there can always be a way for you to break things down. Like I said, in usable chunks, meaning we both know that we cannot use this, and we know that this is not noticeable, right? So we have to work around it together. So engage them, let them feel like it's strict, but we can do it our way. We can find a way around it, and trust me, we are going to try to work with you also.
Okay, thank you very much.
Afia.
Hi everyone, thanks Ayo. So my question is on the Loom videos, right? I agree
Yeah.
with the Loom videos because I use them for bug fixes. But for the PRDs, isn't that a form of spoon feeding, for lack of a better word? While I understand that there's nothing like over communication, right? My own
Yeah.
approach is typically like a flow chart because
Yeah.
developers don't like to read. I also join in their
Exactly.
technical review sessions. I have that a lot with the devs, right? Even though they are speaking a lot of technical things, but I join their calls and just speak English. But the
Yeah.
PRD Loom videos seem more stressful as a product manager, or maybe this might just be a scenario of, I mean, doing what, like just doing what works for the team. But I just
Yeah.
feel like PRD Loom video is quite stressful as a
Yeah.
product manager, and a flow chart can just work. Like just put up a diagram and tell them start, end, and all of that. I'm sure they'll be able
Yeah.
to work with that.
Okay, yeah. So for that, I'll talk about two different teams. I've worked with several teams, but the last two teams that I work with, first of all, it depends on the level that your team is at, right? So there are some development teams that they will not read a thing. If you even give them flowcharts, because I do both, I drop flowcharts and all those things for them they will still not look at it. We have different type of teams. My last team, they were very, very stubborn. I'm not even going to say that. So I had to spoon feed them. But over time, as they were, enjoying it, and it was a thing of, communication, I started taking it back a little. Oh, you need to try to read it today now. Oh, you need to try to do this. But the honest truth is that nobody, at the end of the day, nobody really cares how it works, especially from the management. What they care is about, is it working? So it means that your job as a product manager, there's something, I think Tosin Oladokun is on this call. I think Tosin is on this call. And there's something, there was one time me and Tosin were talking. And then I was like, Tosin, what's your job as a product manager? And Tosin said, I do everything to make it work. That's my job. Because at the end of the day, it's your product. So if it requires that you spoon feed them, you need to know the level that your development team is at. If it requires that you spoon feed them, but definitely it can't be something that will continue. So you also learn how to withdraw it and how to make them do it. The current development team I work with, I don't even ask them for updates. They come to give me updates. So I don't stress myself that much. In fact, the only thing I just check is there's a GitHub channel where they make push. Okay, I know when this person makes a push or something like that. My current development team, I don't even go to that extent. Like those guys are very, very, very matured, right? So you need to know the state of your development team. Because if you say you want to take things by your own, developers know how to move. You know what? One interesting thing about the difference between developers and product managers is that people value you more as a product manager depending on how long you stayed at the company, because people believe in product life cycle. So at least maybe 6 months. A developer can join this team in 1 month and leave the next month. So if you like, say you want to go heads on with the developer, you don't have to tell them this to make them feel like they have power, no? But if you say you want to go heads on with the developer, it doesn't concern the developer, to be very honest. And the person will say, this one's problem is too much. I've seen people resign because product managers are stressing them. So you need to be able to find a way to make things work, understand your team, and then give your team what it needs, and also try to find a way that over time what you're doing is scalable. I don't know if that breaks it down.
Yes, it does. Thanks, Aya.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Next person is Toby. Oluwatobi.
oh, no, Oluwatobi has spoken. I think it's seen.
Okay. Simi? Okay. All right. Simi.
Hi, Simi.
Simi, if you are speaking, you're muted. I hear you.
I make one of this. I was washing plates. I had to put my phone in the kitchen. Hi, Jaffa. Good evening.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Good.
tonight's meeting. Make one of laugh at me. Thanks for tonight's meeting. And a good percentage of the things you suggested is what I'm doing presently. But my own case is, I think it's really more where you said, okay, yes, how can I encourage my developers to write, especially in a situation where context. So in my company, we have this product development culture where we dedicate 6 weeks to actually build a product. And if required, it can span beyond, like it can take more than 6 weeks. Do you get? And on a weekly basis, we have like sprint review or demo calls where different product managers give updates on the work they've done for the week. Do you get? But I moved into internal tools. I'm no longer in retail banking, and documentation is not something done, like they don't document. Like to even say I want to deploy something to staging or production, it is the PM's responsibility to raise a TSD ticket that the head of engineering would approve, and then you now submit the TSD ticket to the DevOps engineer and the IS control people. Do you get? So, but I have noticed that because of lack of documentation, because of lack of context, the new backend engineers and front-end engineers were employed. In the absence of the technical lead, everything went left into hellfire. That I was even crying. I was crying. I would say to message the product manager. So really, the question is, how do I encourage my developers to write? So when I spoke to my line manager, I was of the opinion that, okay, why don't we bring everybody to the office and let's dedicate like 2 days physical meeting, since it's freeze period. So there's this thing called freeze period, extra 2 weeks, which is a sprint to wrap up work. So we don't have any pending like engineering work to do in that 2 weeks, and I want to use that time to like document things, whether product, whether design, whether engineering. But on your side, you dealt with demonic spirits in the form of engineers. That's the best way I can describe it. You yourself, yes. And I understand that it is my job to get things done. Like dealing with even non-engineering people, especially CX or finance or marketing, is another different ballgame entirely. So I get that part. But my own is I don't know how to code. One of my weaknesses is seeing a bunch or a bulk of alphanumeric symbols. My brain shuts down. So there's only to a level I can do. The best I can do is probably a technical documentation on how API works that I can write in simple English. But the bits and pieces that another front-end engineer or another back-end engineer or another QA engineer would understand is where I'm really blocked. And I want to prepare for that. Like it's actually next week, Thursday and Friday. That will be that time of documentation. So please help me. What do I do?
Okay, so first of all, you mentioned something that you guys want to bring the developers for like 2 days. That's like a first step. So you're already, on the right direction. Now, the thing is not trying to convince them to write. The thing is trying to convince them why they should write, right? So it means that you need to be able to sell to them why they should write and why it is good for them. You don't need to sell it. Sometimes you need to think about to place things for people. When people see that things are of benefits to themselves, they will try to buy into it. There are 2 ways to sell things, mostly as a product manager. You either sell the company vision or you sell the benefits to the developer, right? Sometimes I combine both. Sometimes I sell one. So most of the time, for situations like that, you have to sell to the developer why they need to write documentations for themselves, right? So it's a thing of continuity. If you go today, or this person comes today, and then this or that, and then if another person wants to work on this, okay, now we spend so much time on QA. This is going to, you need to be able to sell to them why they should write documentation, not enforcing them to just write documentations. Definitely, you say, oh, we want to start making this compulsory, but you need to sell it. Low key, I don't know, but for me, I feel like in the development team, you're sort of a salesman too. So you're selling to your development team why. So now, which vision would you rather push? Which is something you also probably need to do some research on. Why developers should write documentations, why it is necessary. You need to sell it to them and make sure that they feel that when they start writing this thing, it's going to make their work easier, because that's all what developers want. They just want their work to be easy. I don't know if you get me.
Yeah, I guess. So just to wrap up, in case anybody else that might have that context.
Yeah.
Selling the why could be a case of the reason why you should document is because you are not going to be spending time doing onboarding or context switching with another engineer, number one. Number two is the reason why you should write your documentation is because you are the one that built this product. You're the one that understand how this product works or how this product was implemented. And if I have like someone from the IT and fraud or IS control team asking me questions, I don't have to come and meet you and dedicate 1 hour of your time to ask questions about things that I could just easily pick up from the document.
Exactly. You could avoid meetings. You could avoid meetings with me. You get that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Thanks. I appreciate it. That appears to where you go mistakenly can talk. I will collect it from you on WhatsApp. Bye bye.
Okay. Thank you, Simi. Thank you so much, Simi. Thank you, Ayodeji. So, Bridget, I think you're the next person, and you are going to be the last on this call. Actually, sorry, Tony. We are going to.
I can't be the last. Wait, Fed, calm down. We already said we're doing a partition service. That's why they are here. We already told them they're going to wait behind. Why are you chasing my people? Why are you chasing them? You think they don't know why they are here? They know why they are here. Besides, see, no, so you're not asking questions. We're talking about our other members. You see Ayodeji. You go and ask Ayodeji on chats. Go and ask him on chats. Leave people to ask questions to Ayodeji. Anyway,
Hello.
the question I wanted to ask, who is speaking?
Can you guys hear me?
Princess, we cannot hear you.
Please, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you. We're joking.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for everyone who has answered or asked questions. Thank you, Ayodeji, for answering their questions. So we started this call at 7:05, so we may be extending by 5 more minutes for so someone's hand was up. Your name starts with T, I believe.
Tony,
so
I think Tony. Yeah. Yes,
thank
you can still raise up your hands. Thank you.
Well,
it's only Tony we're not asking people, we're not asking the sole question.
All right, so Tony, let's take
yeah.
Tony can go on those questions, but let's end this, let's wrap it up by 8:05. So Tony, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Deji, good evening. Thank you for the entire session. So, quick question. Is it possible to just have bad developers that just don't care, or everything is just on you as a product manager?
Yeah, it's possible. It's very possible. Expect different type of developers. It is very possible. It is when it is extreme, and then you look at it from the perspective that maybe you actually need to escalate this, but you need to also actually put in the basics, effort to try to say, okay, maybe this person is not buying into this vision, or maybe, or if you try your best, they are bad developers. I'm being very honest with you. They are very bad developers.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 4 more minutes. I think we were able to take. Bridget, do you have a question, or you were helping us with the so that you can go?
Noso can go. No, it's fine. Noso can go then. Lola, please, Noso, let's quickly ask the question so that Lola can answer a question because we are out of time. Yeah.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Ajuwon, I just want to hear you.
We can hear you.
You my guy. That's all. I'm good. That's all.
You see what you not take no so serious. Oh yeah, now. Thank you. Thank you. Lola, you can go. Lola, you can go.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ayo, for that session. It was so impactful. I wanted to ask, I was seeing something like monitoring push on GitHub. I'm like, how technical do a product manager need to go? Because I know we say, oh, you don't have to have any coding experience, you don't have to be technical. But in this short time of being a PM, because I just worked like in February, and I'm like, the link was flying around. I'm like, in the long run, one would have to have like a technical knowledge. So how deep should a product manager be technically? Like, what's the range? Because I'm seeing GitHub and I'm like, hey, wahala. So please, can you break it down?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry, give me a second. There's one video I want to quickly pull out. I'm trying to check if I can. Okay, just give me a second. Yeah. Let me see if I can pull it out. Okay. Yeah, I can actually. Yes. So yeah. So to be very honest with you, there's nothing technical about using GitHub. You just need to understand basic things and basic technologies, like what does push mean, what does merge mean, and basically what we do is that we connected Jira it's just buttons. You just have to, do feature engineering manager. He probably has access to, to GitHub. You have access to Jira, and you're just clicking, okay, authorize, connect, and then you connect Jira to, GitHub, and then you're connecting GitHub to Slack. It's just like few buttons, but definitely you need someone that has access to GitHub, and then you just need to learn the basic methodologies of push, pull. What does those things mean? So it means that anytime a developer is telling you, oh, I've pushed, oh, I've made a pull request, like you're able to just relate to those things, meaning, oh, has he actually done this thing, or has he completed this thing? And someone that is telling you, oh, I've pushed to staging, or I've done this, that person might be lying to you. So what I usually do for everything is that I create a channel where I just make these connections, authorize, and then every time a developer is making a push, a pull request, merge, all those things, it's showing on the channel. So if you tell me you've actually pushed and I don't see anything, I'll tell you it's a lie. You get, it's just like monitoring their work, but it's nothing too complex. You can also like send me a DM, but I might maybe like weekend or something on this. But I also dropped a YouTube video just to explain the basics. It's not something too complex like that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. We're closing now. But like Ayodeji was saying something, the thought that came to my head was, if that not they ask for updates, now if that they receive updates. God, oh my gosh, I'm not dropping it. All right, thank you so much, Ayodeji, for today's session. I promised my Slack people that they will be impacted. So Ayodeji, your video is on. Just lay your hands, lay your hands on the screen. If you want to be impacted, just react and collect your fire. Ayodeji, lay your hands now. Oh God, lay your hands. I'm not seeing you stretch it. I picture on camera. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ayodeji. Thank you everyone for making our time to join. I'm sure that everyone had a good time. The recording as well as the slides will be shared in the community within the next 24 hours. So be on the lookout. Ayodeji can be reached on Slack at Ayodeji Ajuwon. Yes, I also tagged him in the post, so you can reach out to him, and of course, he will answer your questions, any questions you have. So yeah, thank you. We do this, right? From time to time. So when the next webinar is coming up, we'll make announcements on the Slack channel. So please keep an eye on the Slack channel. Please, and thank you. Our next event is happening next week, Tuesday. Princess, correct now, we do interview prep. Okay, no, we're doing group mentorship session, right?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay, we're doing group mentorship session this Tuesday. Also, I'm going to be bringing another awesome product leader to answer any of your questions that might be bothering you. The person will be there. And also one of these days, Ayodeji will also come up again for our group mentorship session. So be on the lookout. Thank you so much. This Saturday, we're having our check-in call. Please, I want to see my wonderful members on the check-in call. 8 p.m., 8 to 10 p.m. We'll also make announcements on the Slack community. So please keep your eye on the Slack community. So with this, we say good night to everyone. First asking to the Princess, can you drop the link to Slack group on the chat session? Thank you. All right, thank you. Good night and God bless you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Hi, Mofeloa. Please let me know when you've gotten the link so I can leave the call. Have you?
Yes, I have the link. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Good night, guys. Thanks for joining.
Night. Bye.